Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Buddhang dhammang sanghang namassami. So now is the time to listen to Dhamma, the words of the Buddha, for us to reflect on our own practice, our own thoughts, and our own experiences that we experience in our day-to-day life since last Sunday, and of course always. So today I would like to share Magandhya Sutta. So it's a sutta given to Magandhya. Magandhya was a wanderer, the Paribhajaka. So wanderers are some kind of sadhus who keep on traveling in search of truth or in search of teaching. So there were many wanderers in the Buddha's time. Even now also, you will see in India. Also many other religious, spiritual practitioners all over the world. They travel and they go to different teachers, different places for practice. As you know, Buddha also did the same. He was also a kind of a traveler, spiritual traveler. And so today's sutta is a mix of so many things. There are some dialogue, there are some teaching, there are some small incidences, and overall it has so many things in the sutta. So this sutta was spoken by Buddha when he was staying in Kuru country in a town called Kammasa Dhamma. It was the same place where Buddha gave the Satipatthana Sutta, the foundation of mindfulness, the Mindfulness Sutta. And he was staying in a fire chamber on a grass, in a fire chamber of Brahmin Bharatwaja clan. So he was staying in the fire chamber of a Brahmin of Bharatwaja, right? So he was staying there with that Brahmin. So Buddha also used, even after becoming a Buddha, he used to travel a lot, except for 3 months, rainy season. He used to travel in so many different places for teaching and for meeting people, teaching people. He used to travel a lot, right? Walk. Now that's happening in the US, the monk, who is very popular now, and the monk and the dog, Aloka. So you might have seen in the social media, if you're using social media. So traveling 2,000 miles already, more than 65 days to travel. So traveling is really good, but like traveling on foot, right? It's something different rather than traveling by car or something like that. So so Buddha used to travel and he used to stay in any places. He used to stay in maybe in some temple, in some forest, in some garden, park, or with some Brahmins, or with any, whoever he gets, right? It's like no fix, there is no fix. He will not like fix, book the hotel, put the itinerary, nothing like that, right? Just go, right? What he had as a cloth, 3 pieces of cloth, and 1 bowl for food, right? Alms bowl, which he would use to go from house to house, any house, right? He will go to any house, just stand near the house for maybe 1 or 2 minutes. If people give, it's okay. If not, go to the next, right? So that was the practice. So he used to do that, right? The Buddha used to do that. And so it was a practice that the Buddha always used to do, the traveling, right? And a lot of time he also would go to people who are ready for spiritual awakening. He used to do this Mahakaruna meditation, the great compassionate meditation, right? So he would focus his mind toward that particular city or the country, and whoever is ready for some spiritual awakening would just come appear in his mind, right? He would focus that through meditation, and then he would go to that individual. So that was a practice that the Buddha used to do. Okay, and then Buddha went for the alms round in the morning, and then he came back, and then there was this, when he went to the alms round, he went for his day meditation in a grove, in a forest nearby, at the root of a tree, and he sat in meditation. So that is also something interesting, because he was, many a time he was traveling alone, right? So you may think like, oh, Buddha is such a big religious master, so whenever he goes, there will be some big entourage, a big kind of a group. But it was not, right? He would many times just travel alone. And he would spend his day in meditation, right? It is, it's not like he was always teaching or meeting people. And in some suttas, he says that he likes to be alone, right, in many a time. So that's one of the reasons he used to travel, because once he is known, and then a lot of people flocks to him, at him, and then he would be there, and then he would go to some other place. So he keeps traveling, right? So, and then he looks for some place which is isolated, and just he would be alone. So that's something he used to enjoy, right? Meditation. So in a way, we can also understand that very few people actually likes to listen to Dhamma, deep Dhamma, interested, or maybe people are too busy as well. but at the same time cannot understand. So he did that, and then the wanderer Magandiya, he heard about Buddha, and then he went to, he happened to be in that chamber, that Bharatvaja's Brahmins, you can say house, in simple way you can say. And then he saw the spirit of grass. So Buddha was sleeping on a grass, right? Just like a simple grass. So he saw that, and this Magandiya he saw, and he asked Bharatvaja, "Oh, somebody came, any wanderer, any ascetic, some sadhu or sannyasa, anybody came here?" He asked, for whom has this plate of grass been prepared in Master Bharatvaja's fire chamber? It seems like it might be a recluse bed. So he asked that. Master Magandiya, there is a recluse Gautama, the son of the Sakyan, who went forth from the Sakyan clan. Now a good report of Master Gautama has been spread to this effect. So he said, so this is Master Gautama. Buddha was known by, he was known as Sakya Muni or Gautama, right? Gautam Buddha or Sakya Muni, because he was from Sakya, Gautama clan. So he said that now this is this Master Gautama, and he has a good reputation. So Buddha had this good reputation. The reputation is that he is fully enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, sublime knower of the world, incomparable leader of person to be tamed, teacher of gods and human, enlightened, blessed. So this is the quality of Buddha, which I mentioned in the beginning, that he is a master of gods and men, both devas and human, and is perfect knowledge and fully enlightened. So that was a good reputation. Everybody, knew. A lot of people knew about him. Maybe by that time Buddha was not so popular among people. So this bed has been prepared for that Master Gautama. So then Bharatvaja says, "Indeed, Master Bharatvaja, it is an ill sight we see when we see the bed of that destroyer of growth, Master Gautama. Be careful what you say, Magandiya. Be careful what you say. Many learned nobles, learned Brahmins, learned householder, and learned recluses have full confidence in Master Gautama and have been disciplined by him in the noble true way, in the Dhamma that is wholesome. Master Bharatvaja, even if we saw that Master Gautama face to face, we would tell him to his face that recluse Gautama is a destroyer of growth. Why is that? Because that has come down in our discourse. If Master Magandiya has no objection, may I tell this to Master Gautama? Let Master Bharatvaja be at ease. Tell him just what I have said." So this Magandiya, he says this, that Buddha is a destroyer of growth. Buddha is somebody who is destroyer of growth, who kind of almost like not allow people to grow or something, right? So Bharatvaja is saying, don't tell like that, Oh, how can you say like that? He is a very popular teacher. I know many Brahmins, many royal people or noble people, they have confidence in Buddha, Gautama. They have trust in Buddha. They hear him, they respect him, they get training under him, they ask questions to him. He is a very reputed teacher. So don't say like that. So Bharatvaja is saying that, Gautama, Magandiya is saying, I will tell this to him, right? So he said, even if he's near to me, I will say the same thing, that he is somebody who is a destroyer of growth, somebody who doesn't allow people to grow, So then Bharadwaja says, can I tell Gautama about this when he comes? Can I say like this? He said, yeah, you can say that, right? Then the Buddha, he heard this conversation, in the sense he heard it through the divine ear, Dibba Chakku. Right? So Buddha had the power to listen to somebody's mind, somebody's conversation very far. How much far it is, he can still hear somebody's voice from very far. Divine ear, Dibba Chakshu, Divya Chakshu or Dibba Chakshu he had. Then the Buddha comes back from his food, from his alms round. It is called alms round for Buddha. When the Buddha goes for the food, it is called alms round. He comes back and then he sits there, and then they exchange greeting. Hello, how are you? All of that. Are keeping well? So they had all this kind of a nice greeting, nice exchange of talk, everything. And then the Buddha asked Bharadwaja, did you have any conversation with the wanderer Magandiya about this very same spread of grass? So Buddha says, Bharadwaja, did you guys have some conversation about this grass? So then the Brahmin, he was totally surprised. How can he know that? So he says, we wanted to tell Master Gautama about that very thing, but Master Gautama has anticipated us. So he said, we wanted to ask you anyway, but you have anyway asked us. Okay, so then when this was said, Magandiya appeared. Magandiya came to the scene, and there Magandiya also had wanderer Magandiya. You can say sannyasa or sadhu Magandiya. He had some greetings, and again some kind of greetings and other talk, and then they sat down. Then the Buddha said, Magandiya, the eye delights in form, takes delight in form, rejoices in form, that has been tamed by the Tathagata, guarded, protected, restrained, and he teaches the Dhamma for its restraint. Was it with reference to this that you said the recluse Gautama is a destroyer of growth? It was with reference to this, Master Gautama, that I said the recluse Gautama is a destroyer of growth. Why is that? Because that is recorded in our scripture. So the Buddha said that Magandiya, the eye delights in form. So our eyes, right? It delights in form. We want to see a good thing and we want to enjoy, like movie or whatever thing. And then basically, it wants to rejoice and all of that, seeking delight through the eyes. So that is something tamed by Buddha, Tathagata. Buddha used to call himself Tathagata, Tathagata. Tathagata means somebody who teaches what he does and he does what he teaches, right? So that is the meaning of Tathagata. Yathavari, Tathakari, Yathakari, Tathavadi. So Buddha only speaks what he does, what he actually practices, and he practices what he actually teaches, right? So it's a Tathagata. So Buddha, so that is tamed by the Buddha Tathagata, guarded, protected, restrained. So it has been taming, right? So what is taming? Damana, Damita, right? So we our eyes, our eyes is something that keeps on moving around, right? In the sense, it wants a lot of things to see, and it is somewhat kind of a distracted, and it is untamed, right? So because of our own sort of a craving, right? So we are craving to see so many things, so many different things. It's like some kind of a addiction, some kind of addiction, I would say, right? So on and on. So we want to see. So the Buddha has tamed that, right? So the Buddha does now no more wants to see, right? So we want to see the on and on. There is no end. There is no end to seeing and seeing, and one after another, and of course the reels are the best example for that, right? So you can all understand, right? And a lot of people, they say, oh, I can't stop reels, it's so addictive, it goes on and on, right? So and it is it has to be tamed, because it is people do it for the sake of, say, happiness, but then it creates suffering, right? Because when something becomes addiction, then it's a problem, right? You can see, of course, there's nothing wrong in seeing something good, something beautiful, but then when you get addicted, right? When you get addicted, you want to see and on, and then a lot of your time goes by, and then you waste a lot of your time, and then you are confused, and you are in a situation of confusion and unclarity and guilt and all of that, So that's something the Buddha has tamed, right? So Buddha has kind of tamed that. So he's no more into that, right? And guard it. So it has been guarded. We have to guard our eyes. We have to tame our eyes and protect it, protect and restraining. So he does. He has done that, and he also tells people the same thing. He tells the people the same thing. So Buddha is saying, Buddha is saying that did you say destroyer of growth in this context? So Mahagandiya says, yes, I said in that context. Yeah. So when Buddha said destroy growth, so growth means what? You are growing in the worldly way, right? So today, if you look at today, and I think always maybe, but connecting with our modern world, we have this concept of growth, right? We say, right, growth, GDP, right, growth, how much money, resources created, growing, So we call it the growth, isn't it? And so Buddha is kind of stopping that growth in the sense of people adding so many things, right? Although I cannot specifically say that Buddha is against the growth of GDP, but what we can say is that that our seeing, is unending, right? We keep seeing. We want to see maybe growth of a building, house, people, or things, but then we are not satisfied, right? In the sense, what we call the fulfillment, the contentment is somewhere missing, right? So therefore, the Buddha is saying that that he destroyed the growth, growth in that context, So it's this constant desire, or you can say craving, not desire but craving, this constant craving to see, something, right? In today's world, we talk about creative, creator, all this creator, creative. So we want to create something, something new, whether it is movie, whether it is house, whether it's food, fashion, or I don't know, so we want to something new, something all the time. We want to see. And we want to travel to see, including maybe moon or Mars, So there is so much to see, right? So tourism is there, right? So this is the way we function. But Buddha is saying that, although he is not sort of against that, but he is saying that if you just think, or if you just rely on external seeing, on and on through the eyes, if you just depend on your eyes so also he speaks about ears, the music, or whatever to listen, or we have the music industries there. Then the smell, all kinds of perfumes and cosmetic and all of that. Then taste, food industry, hotel, restaurant and all of that. And then the body, which is, say, the clothing, the fashion industry that is there. So these 6 senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue and body. As the 6 senses is our world, right? The 6 senses is our world. This is the world, right, for us. And we seek delight, and we, in fact, seek what we call the protection or the sharanam, the refuge. If you might call it the refuge in the 6 senses, right? We think this is going to give me happiness, or not just happiness, but say fulfillment, right? Oh, if only I have this kind of a house, or if only I have this kind of a car, then I'll be fulfilled, or partner, or children, So we want our world is the 5 senses, and then we totally rely on the 5 senses for everything, for our fulfillment, for our satisfaction. So, although Buddha is not against the 5 senses, because this is what we have to live, but then what Buddha is trying to say is go beyond, right? Go beyond, look inward, the internal, because the fulfillment is in our heart, right? So we although we can of course enjoy our sensory world, there's nothing wrong, but we need to further move into the internal refuge, or internal growth, if you might call it, internal growth and fulfillment, right? So Buddha has done that, right? He has totally grown, totally developed that internal growth, right? He has developed himself within. So then, okay, so what do you think, Magandia? Here someone may have formerly enjoyed himself with forms, cognizable by the eye, that are wished for, desire, agreeable and likable, connected with sensual desire and provocative of greed. On a later occasion, having understood as they actually are, the origin, the disappearance, the gratification, the danger and escape in the case of form, he might abandon craving for forms, remove fever for forms, and abide without thirst, with a mind inwardly at peace. What would you say to him, Magandiya? Nothing, Master Gautama. So here Buddha is saying that formerly somebody thought that, okay, only the six senses, right? Eye, ear, whatever you see and all of that. So you just seek delight in that, right? But then you see how you see the later what you do is you see the origin, disappearance, gratification, danger, escape. So within the form, you see how it origin and how it disappear, and how actually it functions, right? So what you have to do is you have to see, right? Whatever you are seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and whatever touching. So all this different way of seeking happiness. So you have to see how it functions and how it arises, how it passes away, and then what are the disadvantages of that, right? So then you don't totally give into it. You don't totally depend on the six sensual happiness for your fulfillment, right? So what do you think, Magandiya? He said nothing. So Magandiya, he has no any comment. So also by all the five senses, right? Then the Buddha gives about his own experience. Magandiya, formerly when I live the home life, I enjoy myself, provided and endowed with 5 chord of sensual pleasure, with form cognizable by eye, with sound cognizable by ear, with odor cognizable by the nose, with flavor cognizable by the tongue, with tangible cognizable by the body, that are wished for, desired, agreeable, likable, connected with sensual desire and provocative of greed. So Buddha is saying in his own past, he did the same thing. I had 3 palaces, one for the rainy season, one for the winter, and one for the summer. I lived in the rains palace for the 4 month of the rainy season, enjoying myself with musicians, none of whom were men, and I did not go down to the lower palace. On a later occasion, having understood as they actually are, the origin, the disappearance, the gratification, the danger, and the escape, in the case of sensual pleasures, I abandon craving for sensual pleasures, I remove fever for sensual pleasures, and I abide without thirst, with a mind inwardly at peace. I see other beings who are not free from desire for sensual pleasure, being devoured by craving for sensual pleasure, burning with fever for sensual pleasure, indulging in sensual pleasures, and I do not envy them, nor do I delight therein. Why is that? Because there is, Magandiya, a delight apart from sensual pleasure, apart from unwholesome state, which surpasses even divine bliss. Since I take delight in that, I do not envy what is inferior, nor do I delight therein. So what Buddha is trying to say is that he, as you know, he was a prince, right? He had 3 palaces for 3 different seasons, and he had all the pleasures of life, but then eventually he found that it was not giving him the happiness, the fulfillment. Like this is what his experience, right? So some of us may think that, okay, if I have some of all the facilities or all the comfort, luxury, I'll be happy, right? But Buddha is saying, I hate all of that. I hate all the thing, but it did not, right? So then he, now when he see others now engaging, he doesn't envy, right? He's not jealous of anybody because he knows that. Why? Because he got a happiness which is far, far beyond the normal humanly pleasures, which is even much more higher than the divine pleasures, right? Forget about human, which is even higher than divine pleasures, right? Happiness, which is the happiness of freedom of heart, which is the pleasures of inner freedom, inner joy that we get, right? So again, I'm not trying to say that you don't enjoy any kinds of sensual pleasures. You can enjoy, there's nothing wrong, but if we only rely on that, then we are not going to be happy, right? So we need to go into our deeper state of mind, which can give us happiness. So for that, we need to develop our mind. And then when our mind is developed, then we are anyway happy from inside. And then even the sensual pleasures, day-to-day simple pleasures, is already too much, right? It is already too much for us. So we, in the sense, that is already enough for us, right? So in some way, when you develop your mind, even day-to-day, pleasures, in the sense that day-to-day, like maybe food or whatever, is already so much more. We feel it already more. We are more sensitive to that. Suppose Magandia, a householder or a householder's son, was rich. He might reappear in a happy destination in the heavenly world, in the retinue of the gods of 33, and there, surrounded by a group of neem in the Nandana grove, he would enjoy himself, provided and endowed with the 5 cords of sense divine pleasures. Suppose he saw a householder son enjoying himself with the 5 cords of human pleasure. What do you think, Magandia? Would that young god envy the householder's son, or would he enticed by the sensual pleasures? No, Master Gautama. Why not? Because divine sensual pleasure are more excellent, sublime than human sensual pleasure. So to Magandia, since I take delight in that, I do not envy what is inferior. So he's giving the example of divine pleasures, which is higher, but spiritual even more. Okay, so now one important simile for here, the leprosy patient. It is interesting because how and why we still do not go above the sensual world, right? Why we are stuck in the sensual world, in the sense why we don't go beyond. Suppose, Magandia, there was a leper with sores and blister on his limbs, cauterizing his body over a burning charcoal pit. Then his friend would bring a physician. By means of that medicine, the man would be cured of his leprosy and he would become well and happy. Then he might see another leper patient. What do you think? Would that man envy the leper for his burning charcoal pit or his use of medicine? So he gives the example of a leper patient, right? So who has boil all over the body, right? A lot of boils, leprosy, as you may be knowing, the skin disease, leprosy. So in the leprosy patient, they like to scratch their boils, right? And that gives them happiness. If you have ever some boils, right, you like to scratch, and that scratching gives you some happiness. It gives you some relief, actually. But once you scratch, it becomes even more, and then it spreads more, right? So what Buddha is saying is that when we are engaging in just the sensual pleasures, then it's like scratching. you are boil. So you get some happiness, of course, but then it's a rut, right? So it becomes more, you want more and more, and in the process you just spoil yourself, let's take the example of somebody who is addicted to drink, right? So that is a very good example, I would say. So of course I gave example of reels, so you get some so what is the boil in the case of a reel or something, right? So that is, you get maybe bored, right? You feel bored, you feel bored, or you feel not so happy. So that's like the boil, which is giving you some itching, right? So you are scratching it, which means you engage in some very addictive way. You watch something, or you are eating too many junk food, or whatever, right? Whatever you are doing, and that's like a scratching your boil. So you get some happiness, but then what happens? Then your energy is gone, your time is gone, and you become more dull. Somebody is drunk. What happens next morning? It's totally down, and then the body is not so good, and then the brain is not also functioning well. So whenever you engage in such kind of a what do you call, a very strong sensual engagement, right? Like you are totally drunk, or you are whatever, right? Whatever that right, through 6 senses, so 5 senses. So the result is that you become more weak, you feel more dull, you feel more drained of energy, and you feel much more kind of unhappy, right? The result is unhappy. And then you since you are addicted, you want it more and more, right? And then eventually you are kind of a slave to your own sensual kind of a craving, right? So that's what the Buddha has saying. Okay, so then the Buddha is saying that if somebody gives a medicine to that person, that leprosy patient, then it is healed. It is healed. And once it is healed, it doesn't need scratching, right? It doesn't need. So the medicine is what? The Dhamma, the teaching. The Buddha is like a doctor. Buddha is a doctor for our inner boil, which is our craving, which is our craving of all kinds, right? Our ignorance and our craving. So Buddha has said this is the Dhamma, and then after we hear the Dhamma and we practice, eventually that we are totally healed. And then that time we don't need the scratching of sensual craving or sensual indulgence, right? So this is what the Buddha is trying to say here. Then the Buddha gives one gatha. The greatest of all gain is health. Nibbana is the greatest bliss. The eightfold path is the best of path, for it leads safely to the deathless. Right. So, greatest of all gain is health. So, health is the greatest gain in this context. Right. So, then Magandiya thought he's speaking about the physical health. Right. So here the Buddha is not mentioning to the physical health. It is the health of the mind, right? Because Magandiya, what Magandiya says here, it is wonderful, Gautama, it is marvelous how well that has been expressed, Master Gautama. The greatest of gain is health. Nibbana is the greatest bliss. We too have heard earlier wanderers who were teachers and teachers of teachers saying this, and it agrees, Master Gautama. But Magandiya, when you heard earlier wonder, what is that health? What is that Nibbana? When this was said, the wanderer Magandiya rubbed his own limbs with his hands and said, "This is the health, Master Gautama, this is the Nibbana, for I am now healthy and happy and nothing afflicts me." So he was touching his body like this, and he thought that physical health, Buddha was referring to, he thought like that. So Buddha said it is not, right? It is the health of the mind. So unless our mind is healthy, we are not healthy in the best sense, and we don't have the gain, because health is the greatest gain. Then the Buddha gives the example of the blind man, right? So if you are blind, then you won't know whatever color or any other object or any kind of even uneven ground. So then Buddha says that then some doctor comes, and the doctor use some medicine or surgery to make that blind man free from that. So then he can see. He can see. So in the same way, when we now we are like a blind, right? We don't know. We don't know how thing works. How happiness comes, how suffering comes. So then with the help of Dhamma, which is like a medicine, we make ourselves healthy, or we make our eyes open. So then Buddha gives that example, and then eventually this Magandiya gains confidence in the Buddha, and then he asks for ordination, and the Buddha says that you need to be in probation for 4 months. So he says, even if it's 4 years, I'll be ready. And then he takes ordination, and then eventually he achieved enlightenment under the Buddha. Then the wanderer Magandiya received the going forth under the Blessed One, and he received the full admission, and soon, not long after full admission, dwelling alone, withdrawn, diligent, ardent, resolute, the Venerable Magandiya, by realizing for himself with direct knowledge, here and now entered upon and abided in the supreme goal of the holy life, for the sake of which clansmen rightly go forth from the home life into homelessness. He directly knew birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived, and what has to be done has been done. There is nothing more coming to any state of being. So there was also some conversation here where Buddha was saying that that many wanderers, right? Many you can call seekers, seekers we can say, they were thinking that they have achieved, the enlightenment, but Buddha is saying they are not, right? And because they are, maybe they just think, and they just have some kind of illusion, or some kind of illusion, you can say, So Buddha also says that as well. So he speaks that with the Magandiya as well. So this is the Magandiya Sutta, and what we can learn from here is that we need to go beyond the sensory world, right? So we are just mostly hanging around just the five senses, right? Which is not bad in the sense, like, as long as you engage in a moderate way, it's a moderate way, it's okay. As long as you don't so much go down too much into it. And unless you have a way out, right, which is this Eightfold Path, that is right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, which is basically the whole spiritual practice. So unless you take delight, and in that meditation is a very big aspect of it, unless you take delight in that, you are anyway going to go into that sensual way, too deep down there, and then you are going to be disappointed anyway, right? So Buddha is taking a very middle stand, or you can say middle or practical, moderate, balanced stand with regard to the sensory world, right? So he's saying that you take a deeper spiritual practice, so that you get that fulfillment, that peace through the spiritual practice, and then you don't need to go too much down into the sensual world, right? So because sensual world has its own limitation, has its own limitation, weaknesses, and has its own limitation, I would say. But then unless we practice spiritual practices, the Eightfold Path, we just keep on rolling around the sensual world, and every time getting kind of disappointed, upset, and confused, something like that. So this is what the gist of the sutra, and then it is also good to know how that wanderer Magondia had a very healthy dialogue with the Buddha, and how he was convinced, with the teaching of Buddha, and how he became monk under the Buddha and became enlightened, right? So this is also something very marvelous, to see the people understanding Buddha and achieving enlightenment, right? So this is the teaching today, and so with this I conclude today's teaching. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.